Ladies and gentlemen, do you remember all the stories that were retracted by CNN and the Washington Post and the New York Times pertaining to Trump-Russia? Do you remember all the stories that were based on anonymous sources that were taken seriously by MSNBC and CNN and the Washington Post and the New York Times and every wonderful, intelligent, morally superior liberal Democrat? Do you remember all of those stories? Well, here's a story from a different perspective, based on a source that Mark Levin had, and it correlates to yesterday's breakthrough article by Daniel Chayton in the Washington Examiner, where Andrew McCabe is quoted as saying, hey, you know what, Durham is still investigating me. We know what the evidence is. It's right there. If you check out my segment prior to this one, they could, or they might, or they will utilize James Comey as a witness against McCabe. Then McCabe could flip and sing against him. The House of Cards has not yet been removed from the Durham probe or the special counsel. All of that could come down very easily. We all know, the entire planet knows that Trump was set up and framed. Okay. Now, the entire planet knows that top secret intelligence on servers outside of the United States government is a major national security dilemma. On both cases or both investigations, Andrew McCabe, who is tied to hundreds of thousands of dollars from Terry McAuliffe and Democratic-run political action committees in Virginia, and that is also a link to Clinton and the Democratic Party. So he actually recused himself. I'm all over the place as usual, but McCabe recusal. Okay. Andrew McCabe recusal from Hillary Clinton probe. So emails released by the FBI shed new light on Deputy Director's recusal from the Clinton probe. He recused himself pretty much towards the end of the investigation. He didn't even recuse himself before investigation. He didn't recuse himself before the investigation started. Anyway, he ended up recusing himself. That's an acknowledgement that there were conflicts of interest. The whole thing, in terms of Comey and McCabe and Strzok, Peter Strzok interviewed Clinton, and Peter Strzok interviewed Michael Flynn. Gee, do you think there's any difference? Clinton had top secret intelligence on servers for 4 years. Michael Flynn never worked with a Russian intelligence official, yet he was the one charged for allegedly lying under oath, to an FBI official. The rebuttal again, defending McCabe is that, well, he only lied, and he lied to FBI officials, but there's no evidence of that. Well, there's no evidence that Flynn lied also. That's the problem. An agent can say, oh yeah, that person wasn't telling the truth. And there's no way to refute that, which is, I mean, there has to be a law or some kind of, that cannot remain. Where you have an FBI official saying, oh yeah, that person lied, and there's no evidence to back that up except a 302 that's written by the agent. But anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Hit subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. That link is below in the pinned comment. Andrew McCabe denies claim that John Durham offered pre-indictment plea deal. This relates to the article that was published yesterday in the Washington Examiner talking about the relentless pursuit of McCabe by John Durham. But hit subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. It's heating up. It is heating up. And this is a special counsel. Like, the same people I noticed who believe in absurd message boards, the most ridiculous, absurd, irrational, nonsensical message boards, are like, oh yeah, Durham's not going to do anything. It's like, you believe the nonsense. At least this is a special counsel that is ongoing. It's like the ghost of Trump's administration hovering over Biden's administration. But anyway, Andrew McCabe's legal team denied a claim that former FBI director was offered a pre-indictment plea deal from U.S. Attorney John Durham, who is conducting a criminal inquiry into the origins of the Russia investigation. Conservative commentator Mark Levin said on his radio show a very good source told him that McCabe had rejected the offer, after which Durham impaneled a grand jury in Washington, D.C. Quote, this is what I was told by a very good source. No, not the Attorney General, not the U.S. Attorney. Remember, I worked at the Justice years ago, so I know a lot of people. Could be wrong, but I'm told it's pretty solid. That is that Durham offered McCabe a pre-indictment plea agreement, and McCabe turned it down, so they impaneled a grand jury in Washington, D.C., Levin said Friday. While acknowledging that he did not have first-hand information, Levin hinted that CNN, where McCabe became a contributor in August, was aware of this, and challenged the media to go ahead and check it out. McCabe's legal team denied Durham had made any such offer. Any assertion that Andrew McCabe was offered a plea deal is 100% false, a representative of McCabe told the Washington Examiner. Durham's office declined a request for comment. This is an older article, but notice how nobody in the Washington Post or New York Times or MSNBC or CNN, nobody cares. They are now trying to say that Trump was going after his rivals. That's exactly what they did. And they did so with such enthusiasm and glee and partisanship. The Mueller probe was 100% highly partisan investigation. Only lifelong Democrats that gave money to the Democratic Party and to President Obama and Clinton's campaign. You had people who literally gave money and donations to Democrats investigate Trump. Then you had Peter Strzok, like I said, who was kicked off of the Mueller probe. And then you have the issue of flipping and singing. So everyone's going to flip and sing on Trump, yet they haven't found anything. Meanwhile, you have McCabe, who lied under oath numerous times. You have Kevin Kleinsmith, who was already indicted. You have Peter Strzok, who was removed or fired from the Bureau and kicked off the Mueller probe. You have all the text messages from other agents saying, oh, we can't stand Trump. And then you have an IG report, an Inspector General report saying, well, we couldn't find any prosecutorial and documentary, bias. So prosecutorial document. So the legal definition of prosecutorial, or like he parsed his words. So of course there was bias, but he just couldn't find essentially a note or an oath signed by these people saying we promise to do everything possible to set up and frame the person that we don't like, that it's the incoming president. So he was offered allegedly a plea deal by Durham already. McCabe and his team of lawyers categorically deny this. But it's interesting. He just the other day is quoted in the Washington Examiner saying they're still investigating me. This is about political will. This is why when people get, oh, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. Okay, well, this is actually a special counsel. This is the exact same thing as Mueller. In fact, this is just as broad and maybe with even a more sweeping mandate. It's a special counsel that is ongoing. It's happening. There have been reports they've already impaneled a grand jury, numerous grand juries. Okay, is there political will? Is there will? Is there any push by media or anybody in media that will actually defend or be interested or report on what's going on? No. Like I said, even a lot of people who support President Trump say, oh, nothing's ever going to happen. It's like, that's not the mentality you should have. This is a special counsel that we all know the evidence. The Steele dossier was purchased by Clinton and the DNC, a tremendous conflict of interest. McCabe had tremendous conflicts of interest and also lied under oath numerous times. Check out my segment prior to this one. James Comey stated that he could be a witness against McCabe. Kevin Kleinsmith was already indicted. We don't need to talk about Peter Strzok. We don't need to talk about James Baker and Lisa Page and others. So all the evidence is there of people utilizing their post to go after their direct political rivals. I wrote about that in The Federalist. Read that on hagoodman.com. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now.